What's going on, everybody, and welcome to GNR Central. I hope you guys are having a good weekend. And just today, it was revealed, and I want to thank Tim for sending me this. So if you guys have been dying to hear Axl Rose's new song, Rock the Rock, that was featured on the new Looney Tunes, you can now listen to a high-quality official version of the song on YouTube. So Boomerang put it up on their page. I've put the link down below if you guys want to go listen to it. It's about 2 minutes long. And it's also animated, so you'll actually see the video for it as well. Now, one thing to keep in mind, guys, is this is not a Guns N' Roses song, so don't be listening to it expecting it's going to be as good as some of the GNR stuff, because it's nowhere near as good. But it gives you an idea of what Axl's vocals would probably sound like in the studio. And just so you know, it's a kid's song at the end of the day, and it sounds a lot more AC/DC than Guns N' Roses. So go check it out and let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Turning now to some Slash news. So Slash is getting ready to hit the road again with Myles Kennedy, The Conspirators. And he's been doing some press. So he did an interview with the Straits Times where he talked about the state of rock music, and he basically said rock music is struggling right now. So he said, I think rock music has been going through a lot of ebbs and flows since, say, the middle of the millennium, and it's been pretty quiet. You have a couple great artists that come out here and there, but there's not like a big movement where you've got a ton of new music, all very inspiring. While he does feel that there's too much focus on top 40 these days, the 53-year-old, whose real name is Saul Hudson, is optimistic about the style of music that he plays will make a comeback in a big way in the near future. He said, I definitely do feel like there's a renaissance coming, like a rock and roll revolution with all these kids that are doing it right now. And there's definitely an energy there, so I'm excited to see where it's going to be going in the next few years. And so while Guns N' Roses are currently riding high on their Not in This Lifetime tour that reportedly is Billboard's, at least it's in their top 5 grossing tours of all time, Slash has been busy, of course, making music with the Conspirators. So he's going to be playing Singapore pretty shortly here and doing a trek across Asia and then hitting down under as well. And he'll be touring pretty much through the summer. And hopefully he'll be hitting going back with Guns N' Roses later on in the year. So we've also got another interview with Gilby Clarke. So he was interviewed by LA Weekly, and they have this reoccurring section where artists talk about their favorite album of all time, and he gave his 2 cents. Now, you might think if you know Gilby a bit with his time with Guns N' Roses that he probably picked a Stones album. Well, you'd be sadly mistaken. In fact, the album he picked isn't what you would actually come to expect. So Gilby said, my favorite album of all time is Tricky. I change my mind all the time depending on what's going on around me, my mood, my inspirations. Sometimes it's Sticky Fingers by the Rolling Stones, Let It Be by the Beatles, or Ziggy Stardust by David Bowie. But The Slider by T-Rex is my go-to favorite album of all time. He said a perfect blend of blues, rock, and pop. Some people consider this a glam record, and I guess it is, but it's so much more than that. The songs that are the winner on here include Rock On, Telegram Sam, and of course The Slider. When I first heard The Slider, it was the sound of God saying, aha. This is the music I've been looking for my whole life, and it's such a great sounding record by the way of Les Paul at the hands of the master Mark Bolan. So the blend of a dirty Les Paul guitar and Marshall amplifier with an acoustic guitar is perfection, and the percussion played by Mickey Finn, and the great background vocals by Flo and Eddie. He also went on to say that Mark's voice is so dramatic, you feel like you're in the room with him while he's telling stories of riding like a cowboy in the graveyard of the night. You may not understand it, but you feel it. Plus, the cover photo is by Ringo Starr. I wore this record out throughout high school in my young and restless Hollywood days, and then I handed it down to my daughter, Frankie. I got my Les Paul, and I'm going to slide. So Gilby actually played a show on Thursday of this week at the Canyon Club, and then he's going to be playing a show on February 13th at the Whiskey A Go-Go. So we turn now to some non-GNR news. So Lars Ulrich of Metallica gave an interview where he revealed his 2 favorite Metallica covers on their discography. So according to Maxim magazine, Lars said, I'm not much for favorites, the drummer told Maxim when asked about his favorite Metallica album cover. But he basically said the Load and Reload albums with the amazing pieces by Andre Serrano. They will always hold a special place in my heart, he went on, adding that I love him as an artist, and I love the imagery, and I love the fact that we saw Serrano through as a cover artist for both records, and those are probably my 2 favorites. So when discussing his favorite Metallica t-shirt designs, Ulrich couldn't name one favorite, but instead praised the artist Pushhead, with whom they worked with extensively in the past. He said a lot of the ones that Pushhead did for us in the late 80s and 90s, I think, are iconic. The way he interpreted the songs, the lyrics, and then drew these incredible images, he commented. Now, he said most of them were based around what we call damage, like the Pushhead skull that he introduced in 1986. There was something very iconic about that, and I think they're probably looking at all the t-shirts we've done. Those are the ones that still stand out to me when I look at all the different things we've done for the last 30 plus years. Ulrich finished up. So Metallica's worldwide tour continues across North America starting on January 18th. and they basically play for 2 months or 3 months, all the way from January 18th, starting in Tulsa, Oklahoma, to ending in Grand Rapids, Michigan on March 13th. So we've also got some Motley Crue news that's been making the rounds this week. So according to Ultimate Classic Rock, Motley Crue might have a trick up their sleeve for Super Bowl Sunday. So a social media post from December 31st suggests this unknown surprise, perhaps related to the upcoming film adaptation of The Dirt, will turn up on the same day as the NFL's championship game next month. So they tweeted out 3 emojis followed by 020319 ad, which is the date of the Super Bowl. Now later they added, "Happy Crew Year to all of our crew heads around the world. 2019 is going to be epic." So The Dirt, which Vince Neil called awesome after seeing the finished movie, will reportedly be released via Netflix on March 22nd. It stars rapper Machine Gun Kelly as Tommy Lee, Daniel Weber as Neil, Douglas Booth as Nikki Sixx, and Iwan Rheon as Mick Mars. It's directed by Jeff Tramarine, who co-created MTV's Jackass franchise. So the film also features 4 new songs by the band and the first music from Motley Crue since All the Bad Things, released in 2015. And while listening to some rough mixes, Sixx said they feel pretty real and raw, and everybody's playing mad, and basically the songs crush. Now, Bob Rock brought the sounds, plus we have a surprise that will confirm that we're out of our minds. So you can trust all these ball busters. Everybody can relax. We're soon going to smack you upside the head with some killer new tracks. So there's a new interview too with former Guns N' Roses guitarist Bumblefoot. So in the interview, he revealed why he left his record label back in the 90s. So former Guns N' Roses and current Sons of Apollo guitarist Bumblefoot says he left Shrapnel Records after his first 2 solo albums because it just wasn't what I signed up for. So the Mike Varney created label is widely considered to be the preeminent home for experimental and shred guitar players, and released Bumblefoot's 1995 solo debut album The Adventures of Bumblefoot and its follow-up album in 97 called Hermit. So Bumblefoot launched his own label Hermit Incorporated in late 1997 so he could license his albums on his own. Asked why he split with Shrapnel, the label responsible for launching the careers of notable players such as Jason Becker, Paul Gilbert, Vinnie Moore, and Tony McApline, Bumblefoot told Skylar Isaac of Shakat Journal, "It just wasn't what I signed up for, and it just wasn't what I thought we had agreed. It wasn't what I thought we agreed on what I would be, artistically and everything. It just wasn't. So I need to get out of that contract and start doing things differently. So I started my own label and started licensing out. I had different distributors in Japan and Europe, and things they progressed." So during the same time, Talt spoke about how he first got into music, and he said, "When I first started developing an interest in music, I was 5 years old, and the Kiss Alive album came out in the mid-70s. As soon as I heard that, I just knew what I wanted to do, and I started working towards it. I put together a band and was writing songs, and we would just make demos using multiple cassette recorders and figuring out how to multi-track using them. Just as kids doing whatever was available to us in our imagination and our creativity. And that was it. But I didn't want to be a guitar player. I knew I wanted to make music. I just didn't know how and what tool I'd be using to make that music, basically. So basically, he said my brother wanted to be a drummer, so he was older and he got to be the drummer. I wanted to be a bass player, and I went to a music store to start taking bass lessons. But I was this tall and the bass was this tall, and there was no way I could handle it at that age. I was too little, and they didn't have kid-size stuff there. They lied to me and said in order to play bass, you have to play a kid-size acoustic first, and he basically played guitar for 2 years. After that, the teacher told him, you graduate to bass. So I did it, and I stuck with guitar, and eventually I figured out how to play bass on my own. Yeah, I got tricked into playing guitar." So in addition to playing for Guns N' Roses, Bumblefoot's also got some other TV credits that you guys may not be aware of. So he scored the music for TV shows such as Hogan Knows Best, that was Hulk Hogan's reality show, and The Real World, and The Osbournes. And mainstream recognition has largely eluded him. He said, my music isn't exactly on the radio every day. He said, it's been on TV almost every day and people don't know it, but it's been on TV a lot, and I think that's the thing about my music. It's always been geared towards more of a TV and film, and it gets a lot of that stuff, but it's not radio formatted. It's just not the usual thing. So Tull joined GNR back in 2006, and he replaced Buckethead, and he played with GNR for about 8 years and performed on the album Chinese Democracy. He's also released 9 full studio albums of solo material over 23 years, and most recently his 2015's Little Brother Is Watching, which was reissued on CD and vinyl in August of 2017 by Megadeth bassist David Ellefson's EMP label group. So Sons of Apollo is right now planning on recording their sophomore album in January, but due to the busy schedules of the group's individual members, the record is not expected to be released until 2020. So that does it for today's news. Thanks for watching, guys. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe, and let me know your thoughts on the new Axl Rose song that came out. that was out on the Looney Tunes. Take care.
Hey, this is Dizzy Reed from Guns N' Roses, and you're watching GNR Central. Yeah!